And when you are saying I neglect the local authority under the opposition, of recent, I went to officiate on a number of houses in Windhoek, here. And it's run by, of course, what you term progressive forces. And I was there. And I went to Okahanja last week, and it's under the opposition. I went there to hand over areas where community can build their houses. My deputy was in Okakarara 2 weeks back, and she went to Karibib, and she also visited areas in Halda. So I do not know which area are we neglecting. And I'm going soon to Kate Maso.
Oh, then why?
Then what else?
Please, as order.
So when people are telling you, they should tell you the truth. So these are the information available. So this is what I can inform you. I thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll leave it at that, please. Honorable Enani, you want to come back?
Honorable Minister.
Order.
I say thank you for your reply, and I'm putting to you that I would keep an audit. We are going to do a national audit on how you are releasing resources to municipalities across the country. And on the basis of that audit, we are going to make our submission.
Thank you. Honorable Minister of Gender, specific question. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Venani, for your question. This is a straightforward question which you have asked. First of all, let me educate you on how far we are. The Ministry of Gender have created some clusters. Clusters, yes. There's a cluster on gender. Ministry of Gender is the one who sits there. Let me say the ED is the one who is chairing that cluster. The cluster consists of gender-based violence, human trafficking, and other things. Number two, there's another cluster, the second cluster, which is for education. Education also looks into the issues of girl child, and sanitary pads. Number three, there's another cluster called the Ministry of Health, chaired by the ED of Health, also looks into the issue of HIV and, how do you call it? I've forgotten another item which is added there. Now, let me come to the issue of the study. You know, again, we have given a study to UNAM as the one who are studying what they should do with tax exemption, which is included in their studies. They are the one who are delaying us. I think I reported even to the caucus of SWAPO already about this study which is done by UNAM. It's a report.
Okay, please continue.
I respect people. I don't want interruptions.
Continue, Honorable Minister.
Yes. So I'm giving the answer to the person who questioned me. So UNAM is busy studying. Therefore, they will give us a report. That report is the one which we will bring here. After I've said I don't lie. My parents brought me well. I don't lie. They could beat me if I lie. So on the policy of government is to deliver services. If the report could come from UNAM, definitely I could have tabled it here. There's no need of me to keep that report. Comrade Vanani, Honorable Venani, you were supposed even to say thank you, Doreen. Yes, thank you, Doreen. You defeated me in Zambezi. Next time we will compete. With these remarks, Comrade Venani, I thank you for your question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having defeated me in Zambezi after your shenanigans there. I give it to you, but you were hearing from the minister when he was complaining that all the towns are already taken. Even the capital is under siege by the opposition. So the next government is going to be a progressive government. We are working on that. Very good. Honorable Minister, you are a mother. I am a father of children, and you are a mother of children. We are all parents. When the government comes and makes pronouncement in this house, in the word of a deputy minister saying that we are going to implement it, and now you are talking about clusters, the one of health, the one of education, the one of gender. But there is no clear policy on implementation. Now the implementation hinges on a professor somewhere who has authority to teach children. They are going to do a study on behalf of government for government to take a position. Can Honorable Doreen Sioka, as Minister of Gender, go lobby her Prime Minister and her government to join the PDM policy of delivering free sanitary pads to school-going girls? Straightforward. Because you are failing just to give the basic commodity to young girls. Follow the policy, implement it. We were right then, we are right now. Please implement the policy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We move on. Do you still want to come back, Honorable Minister? Please. A quick one.
Comrade Speaker, you know young children, young guys, young people, they want something to be done right away. We don't have the capacity of the study. That's why we referred it to UNAM to do the study, so that they give us a report.
Okay. Yes,
to give us a report. So we have been partnering with these people, like UNICEF, listen here, like UNICEF, UNAM, and many more.
Okay.
So if we give the study that they should do it for us, is it a crime?
Honorable Minister.
So this is the story where we are. We are together with them. There's no need that DTA should bring something here. No way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
PD.
Thank you.
DTA.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Maureen Hinda Bwende.
Honorable Speaker, I think of your indulgence, I was a little delayed, but I want to correct on record that there is this false allegation that one member of parliament is making, and I have equally laid a charge of criminal injury against him. So, but I think it is important that it is put on the record that I have not touched this member. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We will. No. Thank you. We will. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No, I wasn't. Thank you. Let's move. Let's make progress. Let's make progress. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We move on. Notices of motions. Notice of motion. Ministerial statement of motions. Yeah. Order, please. Order. Please. Oh, okay. Yes, please. Yes, please. I couldn't see the light. Yeah. Yes, please. Please, you have the floor.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. As a responsible, concerned citizen, I have a urgent oral question to the Honorable Prime Minister, the head of government.
Yes, please.
We are made to understand that we cannot discuss fish rot because it's prejudice. Fish rot is prejudice. We cannot discuss it in the assembly. But there is some worrying developments in Namibia that continues to show that corruption is continuing. The media is reporting some 30 million of diamond deal that is to be written off by Namibia. And Namibia actually referred to this as nothing. My worry is actually brought about by the name of Mr. Maurice Templesman, who was grapevine to want to buy all Namibian diamonds. It's his company that this 30 million apparently is written off. Honorable Speaker, recently the media also reported that the Japanese built 2 classrooms in Zambezi at the value of 2 million. Now, if 30 million is just to be written off like that and it's nothing, yet we are begging for Japanese to come and build classrooms for 2 million.
Honorable Member, can I help you?
The 30 million would build clinics and classrooms all over the country, but it's apparently to be written off. That's my worry, Honorable Speaker.
First of all, your question, it's all about Nantia.
It's about corruption.
It has nothing to do with anything else.
It's about corruption,
Because
Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, we need to be precise for me to permit the question to be responded to. If it is too general about corruption,
okay, let it be focused on Namibia then.
Namibia.
30 million is written off on a company of Maurice Templesman.
Okay.
And for me, that's high corruption. Does
the
diamond rot require a whistleblower?
Yeah. The question is whether anyone has got information on his fingertips to respond to a question.
May I
like
get
that.
the response, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Prime Minister, have you got any knowledge about this? And you are able to respond?
Honorable Speaker, expecting that given the seriousness of the allegation, the honorable member would put his question down in writing, preferably to the oversight minister responsible for Namibia, and be provided with information that has been verified. I also would like to indicate that the public enterprises do report to Parliament because they are executive institutions, and in line with the constitutional provision that subject the executive to the oversight authority of Parliament, they indeed do submit reports here, and those reports can be discussed by parliamentary committees, and the accounting officers of those institutions or the relevant persons can be called upon to come and answer questions. But no, there is no leniency towards corruption in the country. We are a country governed by the rule of law, and if there are any deviations from the laws that we have passed in this House by any person, they are to be held accountable in line with the provisions of the law. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Dr. Yambo, I think we leave it at that. If you wish to follow it up in writing, thank you very much. Honorable Benami.
Oh. Honorable Speaker, I rise on a on a procedural issue. Point of order on a procedural issue. Honorable Speaker, when Hitler was committing genocide on the Holocaust, or on the Jews that permeated into the Holocaust, the Catholics said that when they came for the Catholic, I was not a Catholic. When they came for the Jew, I was not a Jew. But when they came for me, there was nobody to defend myself. And I want to say two things as a leader of this House. That we must be very careful into the issues on how this House is degenerating. Yes. One of the issues is that we need to be very fair and judicious when we are dealing with matters. One issue that I want to raise is the insults that we are meeting against women colleagues in this House. We must raise above pettiness. We can politically insult us in the domain of politics, but when the insult becomes personal, they become unfathomable, and one cannot have a respectable House that speaks of people's personal characters in the open. That is something that we need to address. Two, Honorable Speaker, in all fairness, had it been Honorable Saber turn to have beaten someone in this House, the ruling party would have been in uproar. Procedures would have been called to order. But there is an allegation, right or wrong, between two eminent members of the House. One saying that I was beaten, the other one saying I would have slapped you, blah, blah, blah.
I'm not judging who was right and who is wrong, but as a house of respect, what is the proceeding doing to investigate this matter, to arrive at the bottom of it? Because saying that it is okay for SAPEP to be assaulted, Honorable SAPEP, with all due respect, wait, let me just say, I'm on a point of order. I'm on a point of order. I'm on a point of order. Please listen.
Let's have order.
I'm on a point of order.
Yeah.
I will never support. I'm on a point of procedure.
Let's listen to
Honorable
each other.
Speaker, we should listen to one another. You are a culprit of not listening.
Please. Honorable Benani, Honorable Benani, please address
I'm not
the chair.
judging.
Yes,
I'm
address the
saying
chair.
he is alleging.
Yeah.
He is making an allegation that he was beaten.
Yeah.
You are also making an allegation that he came to you to insult you.
Okay.
Now, whichever way,
Yeah.
the House cannot. I do not like how the Speaker handled the manner
No.
in which SAPEP rose.
No.
And the Speaker.
Let me.
Wait. You have opportunity. Let me just speak.
Yes, please. Yes.
Honorable Speaker, I'm a leader seated in this House.
No, please
Probably
continue.
the most senior leader
I'm not
seated
questioning
on this
that.
side of the House.
I'm not questioning
no,
that.
listen
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Honorable Speaker, no, the finger is just. I'm
No,
not
no,
pointing
I
at
said,
you.
no,
My
please.
respect to you
Yeah,
cannot be
yeah.
demeaned by a finger. No, that's not how I was brought up. But Honorable Speaker, as the head of the proceeding, when a member is making an allegation so serious that he says in the press that his glasses were broken, but we have done nothing. So it means that when an opposition member does something wrong, it's okay. Nobody can come at the defense of SAPEP because he's an opposition member. So what I'm trying to say is that we must be judicious. I'm urging you as the head of our presidium to be judicious.
Yes.
Neither shall I keep quiet when women members of this House are going to be insulted. I'm going to stand up. No. I am raising those issues because I'm not quiet about them.
Okay.
At least I have the balls not to be quiet about them.
Thank you.
So we should not insult one another.
No.
Yeah, I have the balls not to be quiet about it, if I have to put it that way.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Benani.
Yeah. Your other guys don't have balls to stand
Thank
up.
you. Let me, thank you. Let's have order. Let me,
I have them also. What is the
let me inform the House.
Yes.
Honestly speaking, take it from me. The issue that the Honorable SAPEP brought up, both in writing as well as reminding me this afternoon, are well noted by me. I was not aware of what happened, but I was informed later on what actually transpired. We are dealing with this issue, not lightly. Not lightly, I can assure you, we are doing that. And I also like the manner in which you raise it, to simply say, we cannot afford this kind of things happening in this House. It is absolutely demeaning, and therefore, every effort we made to get to the bottom of that, and I can promise you to do that. Lastly, I have required from those who are able to put together a report on that particular topic. I have not been able to get. I'm simply saying. What I'm simply saying, we are dealing with the case. We will handle it. We'll do justice to what actually transpired. I can assure you that it is not only a question of. It is in the interest of the House as a whole. We'll do that. We leave it at that. We continue. No. Yes.
On a point of procedure.
No. We cannot continue this.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
I have a voice in this House.
Yes. I know. But I think we should leave it at that.
Please be switched on.
Yes. Have your say. Yeah.
Honorable Speaker, I am quite not satisfied with your response to the Honorable Benani, because I do remember, if you do remember quite clearly, my situation in terms of the police stopping me, putting a gun to my face and telling me that I'm not allowed to enter. You said those very nice words to me that you will have a report, you will have people to look into it. It's months later. the situation has not been handled. So we are quite not satisfied with your response to that.
Okay.
We want this matter to be handled now. Because had it been a man who put his hands on a woman, it would not be this case.
No. We'll do something about it. What I can say, I cannot, in the middle of this, entertain a discussion. We should handle that thing in a manner that will be consistent, because we had to get to the bottom of the issue, what actually happened. I was not there, and I need to be properly briefed on what actually transpired. We'll do that. We move on. Any notices or motions? Yes, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I give notice that on the 4th of November, 2021, I shall move that leave be given to amend the State Finance Act of 1991 so as to substitute certain definitions, to remove references in the Act to the signing of securities and issuing of certificates or other documentary evidence in respect of internal registered stock, and to provide for incidental matters. I so move, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Messages from the head of state, ministerial statements, Minister of Finance.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, as you will recall, the government of the Republic of Namibia decided to sell the fish quota for governmental objectives through a competitive bidding auction to the highest bidder. The aim was to determine the correct value of Namibia's fishery resources with a view to ensure that the country fully benefits from her natural resources. After our unsuccessful auction last year, we went back to the drawing board to fine-tune the auction process. I would like, therefore, to share information about the second round of auctions undertaken this year with this august House. The following species were auctioned: 15,948 metric tons of hake, 87,500 metric tons of horse mackerel, and 392 metric tons of monk were auctioned to the highest bidder. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, Section 3, Subsection 3 of the Marine Resources Act, Act number 17 of 2000, as amended, makes provision for the state to utilize or harvest marine resources to advance any socio-economic, cultural, or other governmental objectives in the public interest through an entity or person designated by the Minister on the direction of Cabinet. Accordingly, the Minister of Finance and the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources conducted an auction for governmental objective quotas. The marketing campaign took different forms. For example, the Minister of Fisheries and Marine Resources held discussions with the fishing industry at Walfish Bay. Namibian embassies were also used to invite interested international bidders to partake in the fishing auction quotas, fishing auctions. Further, prospective and eligible bidders were further invited through a tender invitation with a prospectus that were sent to all local newspapers. The tender invitations were also posted on the websites for both Ministry of Finance and that of Fisheries and Marine Resources. To avoid speculative bids that distorted the auction held during 2020, bidders were required to provide a bid deposit or a bank guarantee. Therefore, the tender invitation required a prospective participant to either make a deposit equivalent to the reserve price or to provide a bank guarantee equivalent to the bid price multiplied by the number of metric tons applied for. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the auctions were held at different dates and subsequently raised a total of 8.6 million Namibia dollar, inclusive of 62,000 raised from application fees. And the results are as follows. Hague, a total of, as I said before, 15,948 metric tons were auctioned on the 18th of June 2021, raising a total of 189.8 million Namibia dollar. Horse mackerel, a total of 87,500 metric tons of horse mackerel were auctioned on the 18th of June 2021, raising a total of 128.6 million. Finally, monk, a total of 392 metric tons of monk were auctioned on the 27th of August 2021, raising a total of 4.3 million Namibia dollar. Honorable Speaker, it's worth indicating that there was a residual balance of 27,300 metric tons of horse mackerel unallocated due to poor demand at the auction held in June 2021. Subsequently, given the quantum of the metric tons available, and with 6 months remaining on the horse mackerel fishing season, coupled with the limited demand from domestic players, the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources engaged the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo that expressed a desire to take up these remaining metric tons. In this regard, the government of DRC has successfully settled their financial obligations of 85.7 million Namibia dollar on the 7th of October this year. As per normal auction rules, the quota was sold at the average auction price for horse mackerel, because this was specifically for horse mackerel. This approach increased the total metric tons for horse mackerel from 60,200 metric tons originally sold on the auction to a full allocation of 87,200 metric tons at a total of 214,300,050. So 200, let me round it off, 214.4 million Namibia dollar. The proceeds from the auction will fund government priorities, especially in the health sector, which needs additional funds to combat COVID-19, as you will note in my budget statement tomorrow. Honorable Speaker, the outcome of the auctions was still, Honorable Speaker, given the outcome of the auctions, we are convinced that the auctions remain the appropriate method of exploiting the quota allocated for governmental objectives. With these remarks, I wish to thank the honourable members for your kind attention and urge honourable members to support auction going forward. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable Shwameni.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Maybe I'm ideologically confused by now. Is our country's resources up for auction? Is our country up for auction? Or what is the message that I am getting around here? Because I'm hearing that we are going to auction mineral resources. Nobody has explained how these mineral resources are going to be auctioned. Is it mines? Is it what? And all this kind of thing. Might be we need a very serious explanation on whether our country is up for auction to international bidders. Because whether we like it or not, Namibians cannot afford these things. It is foreigners that are buying our resources. Are we selling ourselves out? Or what is the story that we are trying to sell around to the nation?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Karekotora.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable
Can you put a stop to that? Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I just have maybe one or two questions to the Honorable Minister of Finance. You see, figures leading to what the Honorable Shekwamini has said. Figures are figures. If you don't make a comparative analysis between the figures that you're quoting and another figure, the figure that you're quoting is becoming meaningless. You just said that the auction that you had generated for HIC 189 million, 189.8 million, something like that. Now, obviously, getting that 189 million, there is an opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is basically the fact that originally when we were talking about the fishing industry, we're saying that it's also to generate employment and those type of things. Now you opted for auctioning some of these fish quotas. Now the question is, when I did my small calculation here, the value that you got compared to the market value is insignificant. You're talking about 11,000 per metric ton, more or less, compared to the market value. Have you made those comparative analysis to come to the conclusion that auctioning is the right option, taking into account the opportunity cost, loss of jobs, and all those type of things that comes along with processing these things yourself? And I think also it leads to what you are saying every now and then. When we talk about value addition, you, Honorable Minister of Finance, have got a tendency of saying that our mineral resources are too small to add value locally. But we have small machinery that can be used for a small production. But you seem to be favoring, international deals compared to localizing and adding value to our resources locally. What is going on there, and what type of comparative analysis have you done to come to the conclusion of saying that, auctioning is the best option?
Thank you.
Because that statement needs to be interrogated.
Thank you.
You cannot just say auctioning is the best the best option.
Okay, thank you. Minister, please. Thank you. Let's have order, please.
Honorable Speaker, can you please discipline Honorable Benani, because he's not speaking through the speaker.
Let's have responses so we can make progress.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm not sure why we are worried about auction, because that's what we practice in this country. Yeah. So when we want to buy things as a country, we have an auction process. Yeah. When government is looking for services, we have an auction process. So that's a common practice here. Why are we worried about it? Because around the world, in fact, it's not only Namibia. It's not unique to Namibia. So we must accept it as the best system that is very transparent, that gives you the best value. But let me come back specifically to the fishing auction. Yeah, so let me come back specifically to the fishing auction. The reason why we have decided to explore this, because before the way the fishing rights were given, or even for governmental objectives, somebody was told, go and catch, and we agree on the price. But as we know, when you have competition, that's where you get vast value. So that's one. That you get the best value, you get transparency. So and therefore, looking at the process that we have received, and Honorable Kavekatora is not 11, it's not 1,000, it's 408 million that has been raised from these small quantities of fish. Small quantities of fish compared to what we as a country sell. Because if I look at hake, for instance, the total quantity of hake that is caught per year is round about in the region of 150 and 54,000 metric tons. 15,000 is a small quantity of that. So this is a small percentage of what we as a country produce per annum. And looking at those numbers, because when government only gets income, from the fishing sector through lending fees, and you have been, Honorable Kavekatora, you have been chairing the committee on natural resources, so and maybe on public accounts. So you know these amounts. So if you can compare the quantum of this small percentage to the quantum that's coming from lending fees, obviously you can see value here. So the principle we are really trying to promote is maximum value for our natural resources and transparency. But let me also come to the issue of employment. This fish is going to be caught in the Namibian water. Yeah? So employment is not going to go away, because the requirement is that for you to catch this fish, you have to have a Namibia licensed vessel. Yeah? If you have a Namibia licensed vessel, it means you have to employ Namibians. You can't come with your crew from outside. So the concern about employment, I think, is a bit over-exaggerated. So I think let's support this. I think it's the best way of maximizing value for our money. And again, let me confirm that for most of these species that have been auctioned, there were no international participants. Most of them were actually given to Namibian players. But even if they were Namibian international players, they would have to come and license their ships here and their vessels here. So the employment fear, I think, is not something that we should be worried about. And Honorable Venani, I think I read in my statement that I think I said on the 5th of October. You can just confirm the date. On the 7th of October, DRC has made good on their obligations, financial obligations. So the money was paid in the State Revenue Fund. I heard somebody asking for records. If you want records, you can talk to me. Let me leave it there. Thank you very much. You can talk to me.
Let's move on. Yes, Honorable Kavekatora.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I just want to get the figure that you quoted for the sale of hake, because I understand, I misunderstood you. I thought you said 189 million, but you seem to be saying 400 million. What is the exact figure?
Yes, please.
The amounts again, Honorable Kavekatora. Let's talk about the quantum. The metric tons auction for hake is 15,948 metric tons of hake. 15,948. Yeah? And I gave you a comparison of more or less what the total quantum that we sell per annum, which is in the region of about, if I'm not mistaken, the Minister of Fisheries, I'm not sure whether it's here, but my recollection tells me that it's in the region of about 154,000 metric tons per year. Yeah? So the amount raised for hake alone is 189.9 million. Yeah? Almost close to 200 million. So,
thank you. Honorable Nico Smith, just briefly, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise on a point of order. I can't hear two words what the Minister has said. What is wrong with this system of us?
You could not
hear.
This
is an aid to us, but it's not an aid, it's a frustration. I can't hear about 60% of the people talking on that side. I can't hear what they are saying. The mics are not working.
Thank you very much for alerting us. Can you do anything? Can you have a look, please?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's move on. The Secretary will read the first order of the day. Can you have a look?
Resumption of debate on youth unemployment in the country, which is more than twice than that for adults.
Thank you. When this assembly adjourned on Thursday, the 28th of October 2021, the question before the assembly was a motion by the Honorable Hungary that the motion be adopted. The Honorable Muharukwa adjourned the debate and I give him the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, allow me to thank the mover of the motion, Honorable Kaya, for the opportunity that this August House has to debate and discuss this very important challenge facing Namibia and the Namibian young people. Speaker, I don't know whether I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Yes. Not only was the motivation well researched to reflect the statistical realities, but it also echoes the pains and strife of my fellow young people who are hoping for better prospects of making a living and realizing their goals. The youth have their whole lives ahead of them, and of course, a daunting task to build and secure a prosperous future. To do that, income is needed, and to secure an income, employment is needed. At present, young people amount to more than 50% of the African population. Yet, 3 out of 5 young people in Africa are unemployed. I respectfully submit that one of the key questions that the parliamentary committee will be seized with is the determination of exactly how many young people are caught up in this no job, no education, no training in state of our republic. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, society's economic and social health are closely intertwined and mutually reinforcing. We must therefore seek to achieve a dynamic economy that is well balanced with robust social protection for our young people. These are the center-right values that the PDM advocates for. We believe this will cater for the hopes and aspirations of young Namibians. These hopes of success are reflected by the said Randall Razan, Julian Naire, Muyenga Johannes, Lazarus Shafuka, Sondi Aran, and the said Tyson Hiangwapo, who were consulted by Honorable Hengari. These young people have their hopes and prayers pinned on a solution that will emanate from this debate. Honorable Hengari is correct in stating that there is more to the problem than what the statistics show. We do not need complex statistical analysis of our employment figures to know the employment realities that confronts Africa and its magnitude in our Namibia. Maybe with the exception of 2 or less members of this August House, each member will not have to think hard to list 20 young people who are unemployed. Should we do that, each name exclusively, together without much effort, we would have identified 2,040 unemployed young people with no effort whatsoever. Parliament, as it might go out, can choose 6 random settlements or villages to consult unemployed young people. I'm sure within minutes of setting foot at each of such villages or settlements, that committee will be overwhelmed by the sheer number. That is the Namibian story, the story of Africa's lost generation. For 7 decades, African leaders, one after the other, have neglected their duty of creating prosperous communities, and we in Namibia must change them. Honorable members, we may hesitate in deciding whether to characterize our unemployment as an urgent case. I, however, respectfully argue that with thousands of graduates who are sitting idle, with artisans who have no bargaining power in the service they give, and simply with so many young people sitting at village coca shops, it would be hard to justify characterizing unemployment in Namibia in any less urgent fashion. I'm of the understanding that the mover does not profess that policies and initiatives to curb unemployment are not thought of, rather that these evidently do not work. I also do not believe that the mover denies that the aggregate demand for jobs caused by cycles of economic upturn and downturn is a contributing factor to our unemployment figures. Such cyclic unemployment is indeed inevitable. What is being proffered, however, is the need for structural reforms to give our economy and its human capital readiness against such economic shocks. We must use this debate to avoid the colossal strain on our social model that may be induced by the inevitable despair of the unemployed and impoverished youth. If we do not, such strain will inevitably deprive the politician of comfortable, peaceful sleep at night. For the purpose of this debate, honorable members, I will confine myself to what I deem to be four key issues, namely, the importance of availing monetary resources, identifying industries that can absorb our labor force best and how we exploit that sector, whether our education system equips our students with the best skills for our labor market, and lastly, whether we have diagnosed our problem correctly by defining unemployment correctly and in a fashion that compels government to craft policy that will encourage our youth not to settle for the bare minimum. I thus now turn to the importance of monetary resources. Policy and reform thereof should be about improving people's situations, making them stronger and giving them more and better opportunities. Policy should not be about making people think that we are doing things that we are actually not doing, simply to buy time between electoral cycles. Urgent action is needed and proper budgetary allocation is needed in solving unemployment. Our budget must therefore reflect the dire state of our youth. Bold steps were taken by the European Union to tackle youth unemployment in Italy, when around 49 million youth in that country were unemployed. The European Union's most concrete show of intent was giving Italy more than 11 billion from the European Social Fund and the Youth Employment Initiative from the period between 2014 to 2020. It also increased the pre-financing to Italy in 2015 to 176 million from 11 million euros in the previous year. Honorable members, the funds so injected into Italy made sure that young people of that country had the benefit of a youth guarantee. The youth guarantee, as highlighted by the mover, can also be pivotal in the efforts to improve young people's access routes to the labor market and to facilitate transformation or transition from the education to the job market. Marianne Tyson, the European Commissioner of Employment, Social Affairs, Skills and Labor Mobility, at the conference on the youth guarantee organized by Lazio region, that's in Italy, remarked that as a result of the guarantee, within 4 months of becoming unemployed or leaving formal education, all young people will receive a quality offer of a job, traineeship, or apprenticeship, or a chance to continue their studies. We cannot deal with unemployment in Namibia as we have been over the past 30 years, not injecting enough financial resources. Unfortunately, we do not have the African Union to do for us as Europe did for Italy. The Namibian government must do it for its young people. The allocation of 279 million of the national budget towards the Ministry of Youth and Sport, and an average of less than 4% to the agricultural sector, constitutes a mockery of any effort of improving the plight of the young. The young people need drastic action as a matter of priority. I now turn to defining unemployment. Harvey Howard Marchand, Chief of Section of the Youth Literacy and Skills Development of UNESCO's Regional Office in Dakar, once remarked, African countries often have strategies and policies on the importance of technical, vocational education and training for young people. But what is missing is the concrete examples of solutions that work. We need to share good practices of what works and encourage the use of these solutions in other African countries, unquote. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the problem is that Africa pays consultants for these strategies and policies that eventually end up collecting dust on our shelves. Sometimes we spend money on political spin doctors with the object of lowering the bar to fix the statistics for the ease of the politician's tongue and to buy time between electoral cycles. This approach forgets that no matter how you twist the definition of unemployment, hunger is hunger. If it is there, it will be felt. Honorable Speaker, all of us here probably are justified in professing to know what unemployment actually is. In most instances, open unemployment or naked unemployment, the unavailability of jobs for people who are willing to work, is what naturally comes to one's mind. This narrow view of unemployment means that any person who is in any job cannot be considered unemployed. This view totally ignores the many other ways in which unemployment manifests itself. What do we say to the medicine graduate who works as a restaurant waiter? An engineering graduate who is doing clerical work at an engineering firm with a clerk salary? A law graduate who receives just taxi money as a legal clerk? A qualified nurse who is serving as a receptionist at a company? An accounting or marketing graduate who is employed as a teller at the bank? We consider these sorts of underemployment not to constitute unemployment, simply because it gives the poor young graduate bread on the table and taxi money to return to the office every morning. Honorable members, when the young have to settle for low-paying jobs, jobs that do not give them a chance to use their real potential and capacity to the greater benefit of our economy, we cannot continue to say this under unemployment is employment, when clearly a lack of opportunities coerces our young people into this state of affairs. With such under unemployment, the hopes of young people to earn a living that is befitting to their qualifications and capability are not realized. We further view seasonal employment as employment, even when there's no prospects of continuity and job security. Yet, this is also one way in which unemployment manifests itself. Our definition of unemployment does not recognize the basic truth that casual work amounts to unemployment. When young artisans and agricultural implement operators, etc., are employed on a day-to-day basis for odd contractual jobs without security of income and continuity, the current economic state of our economy does not give them choice but to accept the little money being offered for the value of their workmanship. The above constitutes a misdiagnosis of our unemployment problem. This will inevitably induce ignorance of the issue and the hardships that our young people are going through. This will also hamper our chances of finding correct solutions to this chronic unemployment situation. We, Parliament, must give direction to this end. We must explain to the executive that the young people need employment to be defined clearly in a manner that captures all forms of unemployment, the different ways in which unemployment manifests itself, in a manner that sets the bar high for government so as to compel policymakers and to craft policies that will allow our economy to harness the imagination, innovation, energy, and potential of the young. Our definition of unemployment must reflect the sort of lives that government envisages for the Namibian youth. It must educate our young people that it is possible to excel in whatever discipline they have studied, provided they work hard, innovate, challenge, and push the limits of their capability. I now turn to the agricultural sector as one of the sectors that we can use to deal with unemployment. With the youth justifiably calling for immediate response, we have sectors such as the agricultural sector and the services sector that can fix our problem in the immediate and long-term respectively. According to the Namibia Statistics Agency Forestry and Fishing Sector Statistics Bulletin of the second quarter of 2021, the agricultural sector is the backbone of the Namibian economy, and a sector that has over the years been one of the main drivers of that has contributed to the national economy significantly. Notwithstanding that Africa is facing the same problem, we in Namibia have a unique opportunity for our 2.6 million population that sits on more than 800,000 square kilometers of land that is endowed with resources. I hope that one of the recommendations from this committee will be to conduct a survey into the land use of all our communal and commercial farming land to determine the capacity at which we are using our farming land. Such survey may actually determine the money that we make on a square kilometer of our farming land. I confidently submit that such survey will not only reveal a profound laziness, lack of innovation, lost opportunities, but also a lack of policy and political will to create real wealth and prosperity for Namibia. I say so because 70% of our population is involved directly and indirectly in agriculture. And according to the annual accounts of 2020, the agriculture, forestry and fishing sector on average accounted for about 7.6% of the GDP, or to the GDP, which has been consistent over the past 8 years. In terms of the Namibian Labour Force Survey of 2018, agriculture, despite only accounting for a mere 7.6% of the GDP, the sector is the biggest employer with more than 167, amounting to 27% of the national workforce. The total population within the agricultural household for the communal sector amounts to more than 900,000 individuals. The youth is again demonstrated as a very important component of the communal agricultural community, being 470,000 young people aged between 15 and 19 who live in communal farming households. We cannot afford to ignore and underfund that sector as we have for the past 30 years. What is alarming is that the group between 20 to 55 shows a significantly less presence in the communal agricultural household. This is a clear indication that as young people are maturing towards majority, they are presented with no hope in rural communities. This explains the rural exodus to urban areas. Something must be done for the youth where there are. Opportunities must be created in the rural localities. The expenses of running a commercial farm activities involve paying for workers, leaks, fencing, fuel, etc. Ask the farmers here as to how this cost is paid for. Those of us who are not entrepreneurs will confirm that these are paid out of our pockets, not from farming. Why? Because we farm in the same way as we did in the 1960s. For example, 300 cows on 4,000 hectares, which gives you 225 cows per year, marketed at 6,000 per head, gives you 1.3 million roughly. When you compare this income to the land mass of 4,000 hectares, your annual income per hectare is about $353 per hectare. On a monthly basis, $28 per hectare, figure that you make on your farm if you are only farming with cattle. Honorable members, I reiterate that we are not using our farming land optimally to create enough jobs. This is why most farmers can only afford to employ 2 old workers. We must change. We must create opportunities in agriculture and value chains with a targeted aim to give the rural youth a shot at a prosperous life. Indeed, we must not dwell on the past. We must learn from that and move on. But for as long as corrective measures are not taken, the young will hammer away at the missed opportunities until new opportunities are availed at young people. One such missed opportunity is TPEC. TPEC was a missed opportunity. Loan money spent on zero production and all value addition were created. Yet we continue to build high-rises, head offices for ministries with beautiful furniture and wonderful aircon. Have we not learned that we must protect our economy and social fabric better? The fact that the agricultural sector was the highest importer, reporting 69.6% during the second quarter of 2021, gives sufficient opportunity to grow and create jobs. Small portions of land given to youth to produce fodder, food for consumption, fish, and other agricultural byproducts can increase the agricultural exports significantly from the current 3.4% and reduce imports drastically. According to the Statistics Agency, the national self-sufficiency rate stood at 40% during the second quarter of 2021. We have no excuse not to push this close to 100% in good rain years. If we are to incentivize 800 farmers to develop, for example, dry fields plantations of about 100 hectares each, employing at a moderate 20% permanent employees, that with proper mechanization should instantly create more than 16,000 jobs for our youth while contributing to food security. Notwithstanding that Namibia's landscape and varying geographical areas and the harsh abiotic conditions found in areas of our landmass, I respectfully submit that we can improve on capacity of our agricultural output to depict an ambitious nation.
Let's go for health break, and we'll come back and continue. Thank you. Welcome back. Honourable members, as you know, just to remind you that the time available to those who are contributing is about 30 minutes. The Honourable Maharuka, you have 10 minutes still to go.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. You can give me 18 minutes. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, Honourable members, I ended where I was saying that if we incentivize about 800 farmers to develop 100 hectares each, we instantly create the minimum of 1,600 jobs, whilst at the same time securing food. Notwithstanding that Namibia's landscape and the varying geographical areas and the harsh abiotic conditions found in areas of our landmass, I respectfully submit that we can improve the capacity of our agricultural output to depict an ambitious nation. We therefore cannot continue in this fashion. The agricultural sector needs government assistance to create jobs in the short term. Indeed, one state is having in mind that it is not only...
Is that a point of order? Can you have your light on? Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Ah, okay. These things are not in Tokota. My honorable brother, you know that most of the members are here, who are here have farms. Eh?
Do they?
Yes, I think we can identify them.
The Prime Minister brought it.
How many jobs can they create? Can members of parliament who have farms create according to your calculation?
Honourable Ziwabeni, I know Honourable Swarbo has a dry field on his farm. I have a dry field on my farm. Honourable Kawekotora has a dry field on his farm. I don't know what they employ. Yes. But I employ throughout the year 20 people. Now times 20 by 104 for those who have. That's a lot of jobs. If only government would assist. The problem is, you are suffering, pulling here and there, and she needs nowhere to be seen. Indeed, one state is having in mind that it is not only the number of workers that must be increased, but also the quality of employment. In other parts of the world, technological unemployment caused by the mechanization of production processes and the replacement of manual labor with technology is a problem. However, it is my submission that the mechanization of the agricultural sector will have the opposite impact in Namibia. While the agricultural sector presents a sea of opportunities for job creation, the quality of jobs created may not uplift the livelihoods of our young if such investment is not accompanied by education, training to capacitate the young to be able to realize their capacity to the fullest. The mismatch between our education sector and labor demands is indeed a serious problem, causing me now to turn to education in the service sector. The mismatch, as alluded, has a huge impact on our structural unemployment, the long-lasting employment resulting from the shift in our economy like we are facing today. Measures ought to have been adopted for our education system to address this problem. Our education system must be geared towards equalizing job opportunities that are dwindling when economic catastrophes hit. We cannot employ temporary measures with borrowed money in a consuming economy where we borrow and throw the money right across the Orange River. We must, through this motion, determine the real extent to which our young people are caught up in what I earlier termed as no job, no education, no training state, resulting from an education system that does not produce skills that are needed in the labor market. Namibia trains many students in the white-collar disciplines: accountants, engineers, doctors, lawyers, quantity surveyors, educational therapists, physiotherapists, marketing graduates. NAS produces a plethora of young professionals in the technological fields. With the exception of our School of Medicine, we do not pitch our education at a standard that makes our students employable in other countries. The question is, why are these Namibian talents not known to be some of the most sought after on the continent? Like, for example, South Africa and Zimbabwe, whose doctors, nurses, engineers are employable worldwide, even in countries that require the highest standards, such as Canada, USA, Australia, Britain, etc. Much is made about Namibia becoming a logistics hub, a noble and indeed a workable economic policy that will result in serious revenue inflows. However, with all the white-collar discipline graduates that we are producing from our tertiary institutions, we make no efforts in turning Namibia into a global or continental service hub. Service-driven economies has proven to be a huge success and have demonstrated to create downstream employment opportunities. Service is rated to contribute as high as 70% to the GDPs of top economies. The Western Cape of South Africa, in the Western Cape of South Africa, we have a classic example of a service-driven economy. The finance and business service and real estate contribute about 28% of the GDP of that province. South Africa's biggest companies have their headquarters in Cape Town. Asset and venture capital companies have been growing steadily in the Western Cape. We must lure such business to Namibia. There is no reason why top architects cannot sit in Namibia producing buildings and cities for the world. There's no reason why young doctors cannot lure health tourism towards Namibia. The Medipark in the north was a classic example. When it was operating properly, a lot of the Angolans in the north were coming to Medipark, spending their money in Namibia, being treated in Namibia. We must emulate and replicate that to a greater extent. There's no reason why our education system cannot produce bookkeeping companies to write books for the world. The opportunities are endless in the service sector, but for the imagination and political will. We are years behind schedule indeed, I concede, but it is better late than never. That process can start now with this debate. Notwithstanding that we are 2.6 million population, if we set our eyes on goals such as becoming the most productive workforce and the most innovative minds on the continent and accordingly budget, we will outcompete many African nations. We must, however, out-educate those whom we intend to outcompete. We have the answers to our unemployment problem. We must use them now. If we continue spending ourselves out of unemployment, eventually young people will stop believing the government is the answer to their hopes and aspirations. Then it will be too late. We can use agriculture and the services sector to lead the way. This will make us a global case study in how the correct diagnosis of the unemployment problem can lead to education reforms, the exploitation of key sectors, the prioritizing of public funds, and eventually to a prosperous nation. We have the imagination, the innovation, resources, and the human capital. This House, however, has a duty to harness the political will from the executive to turn things around. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. Honourable Nico Smith, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, honourable members, I rise to support the motion by Honourable Ina Hengari regarding the crisis of youth unemployment in Namibia. Please also allow me to congratulate my young colleague on a motivational speech, which was well researched and presented. She raised a number of very important issues impacting on 500,000 young Namibian people in our country and the situation that thousands of them find themselves In a collapsing economy currently, Honourable Speaker, provided deeply worrying statistics about the number of young people, both graduates and ordinary school leavers in this country. It is a fact that a degree no longer guarantees a job, mainly because of the poor education system that does not adequately prepare young people for the world of work, and the misguided idea that it is the government's duty to create and or provide jobs for people. To suggest that people below 60 should retire to make way for young people in the civil service is equally misguided. It is exactly because of this attitude and lack of understanding about the world of work that our civil service is ineffectual and our municipalities produce qualified audit reports year after year. Experience is just as valuable, if not more valuable, as to an employer as any degree. Honourable Speaker, I consulted members of the education fraternity about the issues of youth unemployment. Most of them agreed with Honourable Hengari's view that the education system was not aligned to the needs of the economy. I listened to her examples of young, often qualified people who remained unemployed for many years. She is not wrong, but very often they remain unemployed because of their attitude towards certain jobs and the way in which they go about finding work. There's also some problems with them. Here are two other examples to illustrate what I mean. A young friend of mine, Michael, thought he might enjoy being a civil engineer. However, instead of rushing off to university, he went to a local engineering firm and asked whether he could spend the year after matric shadowing one of the firm's engineers for a small salary. The firm agreed because they liked his enthusiasm. At the end of that year, they offered him a full bursary. He graduated at the beginning of 2021 and walked straight into a permanent job at the same firm where he had proven his worth over the previous years by working during every university vacation. Another youngster thought he might enjoy being an accountant. He enrolled at NUST and then went to a local accounting firm where he asked to work for them on the days when he didn't have many classes. They agreed to pay him a small salary for hours worked. He also worked there during vacations. The result, he graduates at the end of this year and has been offered a contract by the firm starting February 2022. And I think most of us went through this. We had to work while we were at university to survive. In many instances, to pay for our studies ourselves. Loans those years were not easy to come by. So I think the youth should also try to do the same. The moral is that young people must be willing to gain experience while working for very little money and studying at the same time. You can't have your cake and eat it. Thousands have done it and have gone on to reach great heights. They should remember that private businesses need an efficient workforce to help the business make a profit so that it can pay its workforce decent salaries. A business cannot afford to employ people who do not know how to do the jobs they are employed for. Honourable Speaker, Honourable Ngari also mentioned young people's attitude towards certain types of work. She is perfectly correct. Not everyone is destined to have a high-paying, white-collar job. Not everyone needs to go to university and take a degree. As we have heard, there are 67,000 plus graduates unable to find work in Namibia. This is because many very important types of work, such as mechanics, boiler makers, bricklayers, plumbers, electricians, and the like, require getting your hands dirty, wearing an overall and working long hours under often difficult conditions. But, Honourable Speaker, these are people who perform essential services. We need them, who can own their own business when they have gained some experience and can be just as wealthy as the white-collar worker in his or her air-conditioned office. There's a misperception that only white-collar people will get rich. It's a wrong perception. Those people working with their hands, those artisans, are in most cases more rich than those white-collar workers. Honourable Speaker, there is one other issue that Honourable Hingari mentioned that I would like to emphasize. That is the accusation that students at VTCs and universities are not taught a useful syllabus in their subjects. That is serious. This is a hugely problematic issue. For any young person who wants to own his or her own business, it is of crucial importance that they be taught cost accounting. If the owner of a restaurant cannot work out how much every single item he or she serves costs, how will he or she work out what to charge customers for such items? If you don't know how to calculate it, how will you run a business? This sounds basic, but you would be surprised how few would be builders today, our people out there, that doesn't know how to calculate, how to make a price for you to build a house for you or a garage or whatever. They don't know how to do that calculation. Although they are good artisans, they doesn't have to know how to calculate and how to tender for a job. I wholeheartedly support Honourable Ngari's suggestion that the various curricula offered at schools, VTCs and tertiary institutions must, as a matter of urgency, be reviewed and changed to include the important subjects required to allow young people to gain the skills needed to start their own businesses and make them to succeed. This would include not only cost accounting, but also how to write a viable business plan that will convince a potential investor that you know what you are doing and that your supposed business can succeed. Remember, banks want to lend you money if they believe you can succeed, only then, because this is the bank's business, making money with you. Honourable Speaker, honourable members, I therefore wholeheartedly support the suggestions made by Honourable Hingari. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, the Honourable Shivede.
Speaker, honourable members, truth is that we, as the honourable member of this August House, need not to oppose, but fully support our colleague, Honourable Hingari's motions, particularly in finding work-able interventions. Most of us are either directly or indirectly affected by youth unemployment. Why I say this, I have also two kids who graduate, but they don't find jobs. This is why I say I'm also affected. As we come from big families and communities, therefore, is it our responsibility not only to debate on this very important national crisis, but also find solutions that work for our youth and in the country. We should not forget that finding a solution to youth unemployment means applying Article 95 of our Namibian Constitution
and involving the affected young people through proper consultations with them as we seek for solution or solving of this national crisis. And in the same way, should we ensure that all youth benefit from whatever outcome, regardless of their political or social status, because they are Namibians just like we are in the August House and they need our help. Thank you. I support your motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Kavekotora.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I also want to make my contributions to this very important motion that talks about unemployment in general and youth unemployment specifically. Honorable Speaker, I believe that we as politicians are saying, when we stand up and we present a motion, we say, this is the most important motion ever produced in this House. But I want to congratulate Honorable Ngari for bringing up a very critical motion, a very important motion that talks about unemployment among the youth. And I hope that we as lawmakers don't stop at the input side. I hope that we follow this motion through to a logical conclusion of finding solutions to the problem of youth unemployment. Because if we don't do that, our contributions to this motion will be useless and it will mean nothing to the youth out there. So I really appeal to the honorable members and the committee eventually that this motion must lead to action. And then the action will have to be reviewed periodically to assess the relevancy of the decision taken and also to assess the outcome of whatever we undertake moving forward. Honorable Speaker, the question that goes into my mind is the question of why does Namibia not produce enough jobs for the unemployed youth? Why do we not produce enough jobs for the unemployed youth? And by definition, Honorable Speaker, unemployment youth is a conglomerate of youth, some of them highly qualified, others in technical fields, and others with little skills for the job market. But then one asks yourself the question of Namibia, a country endowed with so many natural resources. And I used to make that comparative analysis between a country like Namibia in comparison to a country like Singapore. And I had an opportunity to visit Singapore with the late Dr. Nicky Yambo. May his soul rest in peace. And when we were on a tour in Singapore, there was a lady, a tour guide, who was giving us information on almost anything. Politics, education, the economy. I mean, you can ask her any question and she will be able to give you the right answer. So what is the difference between Namibia, that is failing in many of our economic indicators, compared to a country like Singapore, that has got nothing in terms of natural resources, while Namibia is endowed with the bulk of the commodities that are sought for in international markets. Because that, finding an answer to that question might lead us to move into the right direction in terms of addressing the issue of youth unemployment. The difference, according to an old professor, Professor Ticinius of the University of Stellenbosch, is two things. Is leadership and understanding. Leadership and understanding. In Namibia, we have a situation where we elect or we appoint both our elected leaders as well as our appointed leaders on the basis of friendship, political affiliation, popularity, and what have you. Whereas in a country like Singapore, leaders are appointed and they run for office, public office, on the basis of their competency. There is a difference between our leadership, and I'm not excluding myself, that's to be fair to everybody, and the leadership of successful economies. So it is something that we need to find a way addressing. I remember when I came from university in 1986, before some of you were born. I went to apply for, and I also apply in the private sector. I want to apply for a position in a bank, an entry managerial position at the bank. There was only one person who interviewed me, and at the end of the interview he said, "Mike, Mr. Kavekotora, wil jy hê ek moet jou in 'n diens neem met jou grade terwyl ek 'n standaard 10 het? Jy maak 'n grap." He simply said, "I cannot employ you because your qualifications are higher than mine. So do you think I'm a bloody fool to employ you when at the end of the day you will eventually take over my position?" It's in the private sector.
So the person was honest.
Yes, brutally honest. Yes, he was very honest. Some of us will not say that, but will go at the backyard and say, "Well, I cannot employ that guy. That guy is overqualified, and he will not. That will be a risk to us in the job market." Understanding, Honorable Speaker, in any situation of leadership, you need to have certain levels of understanding to be able to be productive, to be effective, and to be efficient. Where would productivity, effectiveness, and efficiency come from if you cannot play the role of the situation and the position in which you are? That's why Namibia is lacking in productivity. We talk about, Honorable Muharukwa spoke about agricultural productivity. How can I go into agriculture and expect to be productive if I don't have an understanding of what effectiveness and efficiency in that sector entails? Not possible. But sometimes we accept positions where I don't have a clue. And subsequent to that, I even go into those positions and I don't study anything. I just continue to go business as usual, knowing very well that I cannot play the role that is required in that particular position. Honorable Speaker, unemployment in the youth requires economic growth. You cannot create employment, sustainable employment, without growing your economy. Statistics has it that since 2016, we had no growth in our economy. And that will translate in negative economic indicators, which include youth unemployment. Why is our economy not growing to an acceptable level? One, Honorable Speaker, we're running a franchise economy. We're running a franchise economy. And the implications of a franchise economy is simply that you'll find a net export of your liquidity into other jurisdictions. Because the engine of the economy is the amount of money that is circulating in your economy. But if you have a franchise economy, obviously, the profit will migrate from Namibia to other jurisdictions. I remember when I stood here one day and I said, let us diversify our economy. Some of the colleagues on the other side stood up and started to insult us. How do you diversify if you cannot even, sell cattle in your respective region? Honorable Speaker, identifying regional competitive and comparative advantage is one of the critical success factors that could contribute to employment creation. Because there are regions that are currently under-diversified, regions with competitive advantages over other countries, but the resources of those regions are being migrated to other regions and then deprive the youth of those regions from employment. We are a net exporter of money. Honorable Ngari, you did very well in terms of your problem definition statement, because that is, in most instances, where we miss the point. You cannot solve a situation unless you define the problem effectively. And I think Honorable Ngari did very well in the problem definition. It's properly defined what it is. Our educational system. I think at the point, maybe Parliament need to have a SWOT analysis on our economy, where instead of myself being limited to 2 minutes or 5 minutes, maybe we sit for a whole week addressing our educational system and what contribute to all these negative economic indicators in Namibia. Conduct a SWOT analysis on that to find out exactly what is happening. I still believe that independent, and I believe some of the colleagues have already said, we were just tired to fight the war and we decided to accept whatever we need to accept and then reject whatever we need to reject without doing a thorough analysis of the implications of either accepting or rejecting. In the olden days when I was going to school, my mother even was forcing me to stay home because when I come back from school I'm too lean and I don't have enough energy, so she gave me fat from the cows, from the milk, to just get my body back to where she perceived to be a normal body. The same applies to our educational system. In the olden days, the scenario of saying, go to school, get good grades, and find a job were relevant. And it was a true statement, and a true request. But in today's economy, the economy has changed drastically. That notion of go to school, get good grades, and get a job is no longer applicable. And I think the moment we define our system from that perspective, we'll also change our thinking in terms of how do we grow our economy and what are the dynamics of the current economic system in a global environment. Then the last notion of get a job is something that we need to interrogate even further, because that is not always true. I think we must replace the notion of get a job with create a job. There's a big difference between getting a job and creating a job. Now, I think Honorable Smith spoke about blue collar versus white collar employment. The answer to our economic growth does not lie with those people who are predominantly sitting in offices. It lies into vocational training, because that is where jobs are being created. You don't create jobs in a white-collar sector, you create it more in a blue-collar sector, because that is something that you start something from scratch. And I think that is a general weakness among us black. I read a book, The Capitalist Nigger. It was very insulting, but what I like about that book is that the person was talking to himself. He was exposing himself together with all of us. He was saying, even you who's reading that book, if I ask you to take off everything that was produced by somebody else who's a Caucasian, you'll be naked. And I want to challenge anybody sitting here. If you don't agree with that statement, look at the labels and take off that was not produced by you. We tend to be more consumers than producers, because we run into offices and we allow the other people to run into job production, creating things, making things. I have an example of Lima. You know Lima, you know Pua. He doesn't wear a suit. He wears a short. But if you look at his bank account, it is maybe 10 times more than my bank account, who are coming here with a nice suit and looking good, and some people are saying, Mike, you're looking very good. But that is not the issue. The issue is that the guy is in control of his economy, he's got money, he can do whatever he wants to do.
The difference is that you are using the money to buy all these wonderful suits and ties.
I'm a consumer.
Exactly.
I'm a consumer. I'm consuming what I don't produce, Honorable Speaker. That is the problem. That is a big problem. And if there's no structural intervention into making us more of producers and less of consumers, go to Harlem today. All these big Mercedes-Benz are being driven by the black people. So Japan will insult a black person, but all the vehicles that are being driven around the globe, the majority of them are being consumed by black people. That is a mindset that we need to move away from it and start becoming producers of our own consumables. So our educational system has got no link, and I think previous speakers have spoke about it. There's no link between our educational system and the job market. We have our primary sector. We depend on our primary sector. But to what degree do we inherently discriminate to make sure that our graduates are graduating in those areas where our economy depends? No. The majority of our people are in Obiriche things that are totally irrelevant. So I think from that perspective, Honorable Speaker, this is a motion worth supporting. This is a motion worth following through to a logical conclusion. And to me, the logical conclusion is to find a paradigm shift in our thinking, in the way we grow our economy or don't grow our economy, in the way we look at our educational system, and in the way, in the identification of those sectors, like what Honorable Maharupa has said, those sectors, especially the agricultural sector, where we have to pay more focus and pay more attention, because our plans must be short-term, medium-term, and long-term, and plug our economy in those categories to make sure that at the end of the day, we have sustainability in this economy. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for keeping time as well. Much appreciated. Honorable Shihumbu, you have the floor.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I will fail in my duty as a youth parliamentarian sitting at the power table not to speak on the issue affecting young people in this country, particularly on the motion under discussion. Before I go deep into details, allow me to pay tribute to the following fallen citizens. The late Stephen Orvanji, a fisherman and a resident of Swakopmund, a youthful father indeed, who walked into a sea to end his life as a result of financial problems after losing his job. Number two, the late Frida Ndatipo, who was brutally murdered and gunned down by Swapo-led government in a protest to demand a fair share of employment and labor of her parent, who have immensely contributed to the liberation struggle of Namibia. She died undignified and never lived to work for her country. Number three, the 35-year-old woman.
The first point of order, yes, please. Wait for the light.
Allow
Wait,
it.
yes, please.
Just information which I want to give. Did you see Swapo gunning that person? Tatipo? Did you see anyone, Comrade Speaker? So these allegations should stop. Honorable Venani, you are a leader, don't behave that way.
That's what I said.
I respect you, but respect me also. What I'm saying, Swapo never shot Tatipo.
Yes.
Even you go to court, you'll never find the records that Swapo has shot that lady.
Thank you.
Never.
Thank you very much.
Don't say it.
Thank you very much. I think
you like propagandas here.
I think it's very important.
Okay.
Very important.
Can I proceed,
accurate.
Honorable Speaker? Number three, the 35-year-old woman, name withheld, a resident of Oluno in Ondangwa, who allegedly locked herself in her room and committed suicide by setting herself alight and died in a blaze as a result of depression caused by financial problems and unemployed. Honorable Speaker, in April 2020 to March 2021 alone, at least 745 people lost their lives due to tenuous suffering beyond imagination. May their soul rest in peace. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, these figures suggest that young people are the one at painful receiving end, and it requires a capable government through a deliberate effort to fight the escalating youth unemployment in this country before more lives perish. It is true that the current government and its leadership have not engaged in any kind of fighting with desire, let alone with success. The last time Swapo fought and succeeded at something was at the Battle of Quito Carnival in 1988. During the past 31 years, the Swapo government has failed at every battle, such as the battle against...
Order, please. Order. let's have order.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes, please continue.
Honorable Speaker, during the past 31 years, the Swapo-led government has failed every little battle.
Let's order.
Honorable Speaker, can you please protect me?
Order, please. Order.
Can you please protect me,
Yes.
Honorable Speaker?
Let's hear the honorable member. Let's listen to his contribution. Please continue.
During the past 31 years, the Swapo government has failed at every battle, such as the battle of Section 8, the battle against sexual and gender-based violence, battle against poverty, and even the battle against unemployment. In fact, current leadership of government sat down silently while the poor people of Namibia continue to fight individually for survival. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, everyone has been left on their own device to fight their way to the table. The well-connected ones, the fortunate citizens, have fought their way to the opportunities which this country has in abundance, opportunities of success to natural resources such as fishing quotas, the EPLs, harvesting of pine and other natural resources on the land and also under the sea. Unfortunately, the majority of the people of this country are sidelined.
Point of order, please. Yeah.
Speaker.
Yes, please. Yes.
Allowed, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable member, I don't want to go to long stories or history. I just want to find out, do you really want to convince yourself that when this country recently has been invaded by the COVID-19 pandemic, this government has allowed people to feed themselves and to save themselves during this difficult time? Definitely not. We came to the support and to the aid of the people of this country, and today you see where we are. This is just an immediate example I can give.
Thank you very much.
So, can you agree with that?
Honorable Speaker,
yes, continue.
Unfortunately, the majority of the people of this country are sidelined. The mushrooming of Sheikh's crisis of our country is a stark reminder of how far we have gone as a nation in terms of alienating the vast majority of the people of this country. Higher unemployment is a glaring image of what has gone wrong in a country of abundant resources and abject poverty. I agree, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I agree with Mr. Franz Fanon. Mr. Franz Fanon's quote, as quoted by my sister, Honorable Angera, and I quote, "Each generation must, out of real absurdity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. It is in real opacity," and end of quote. Lots of all, Honorable Speaker, lots of our youth have really tried to educate themselves through formal and informal education, but they can't find work because the system requires 10 to 15 years of experience. Sometime, who is just 25 years old, freshly from the university, will try to start up a business today. Unfortunately, these businesses will collapse in the first semester because all tenders are given to friends and family due to corruption that thrives and deeply entrenched in the government systems. Young people cannot qualify for loans, Honorable Speaker, as a startup capitals, for they do not have the collateral. What now, Honorable Speaker, honorable members? We are at the crossroad as a country. Honorable members, many young people have become thieves, robbers, murderers, and prostitutes living in vile, unworthy, and filthy prison and holding cells. These penitentiaries have become a home to many young people. Is this what they deserve, colleagues? Is this the free Namibia our torchbearer died for? Is this how our young people are going to die without dignity? Honorable members, Honorable Speaker, the time for sitting idle must come to an end. We have a responsibility for which we were elected at this House, to critically think for solutions on how unemployment can be addressed. I cannot agree more with my fellow parliamentarian, Honorable Mhingari, that youth unemployment crisis will have a serious ramification of which this House will not be spared. This figure quoted by my colleague are disheartening. If it is true that the youth unemployment is estimated to reach a staggering of 50.3% by the end of this year, this must be a sobering fact for us to ponder on today, tomorrow, and every day until the end of this year, so that next year may be a year to turn around and fortune for young generation. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I appeal to all of us to speak our mind openly today, debate our disagreement honestly, and pursue solidarity and the idea of one Namibia, one nation, because when you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice, let alone mutual hate or even self-hate. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, it is important to guard our constitutional commitment to protect the youth and give them tools to feed themselves. We must, as legislators, uphold, protect, and maintain the welfare of the people of this country. As it's enshrined in Namibian Constitution, Chapter 11, I pray that this motion be adopted, leading up to the President of this great nation to declare a state of disaster of youth unemployment in this country. Honorable Speaker, honorable member, in conclusion, I therefore support the move to have this motion referred to the relevant standing committee.
Point of order. Wait for the light. Okay. Yes, you have the floor. Yes, you have the floor. Order, please.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Can I ask you, Honorable, a very tiny question? Can I?
Yes, please, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. You have indicated the issue of unemployment, and the colleagues prior you, of which you are kind of echoing their sentiment, is basically the same thing. I just want to ask you, I see in front of you there is a bottle of water. You drank it. It's made in South Africa. Do you think you are creating employment by drinking it? In Namibia.
Honorable member, please continue. Please continue. Please.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker.
Yes, please.
This bottle of water, I believe, is from South Africa, procured by SWAPO government. So it's not us. So why not producing your own water?
Please continue.
Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, I therefore support the move to have this motion referred to a relevant parliamentary standing committee for further deliberation, national-wide consultation with young people and relevant standing stakeholders, and duly report back to this assembly as a matter of urgent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Benani. Honorable Benani.
Honorable Speaker, those that are tired to listen to this debate, those that do not want to listen to this debate, what will it help to call a state of emergency, knows that they have created an epic failure of policy to address the issue of under and unemployment of young people in this country. There is a saying in my language that says, "Yuti kora sha ashiki kukore." You must raise a generation for that generation to go and look after you. That is what it means, loosely translated in English. Raise someone so that this person could later take care of you. Now, ladies and honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, go to every village in Namibia. Whether you go at Itananga, Okangwati, Kairaira, Lizauli, Sisheke, Varamba, Nuikrens. No, it's Nuikrens. That's the name of the place. No, Nuikrens. That's the name of the place. Chaka. No, I'm not insulting. You are very deliberate. You know the place. Nuikrens is the place where the former Speaker Theo Ben Guridaps comes from. That's the name of the place. If you have not been there, go there. That's the name of the place, and I've been there. Well, I'm talking about a generation. Well, you know I don't speak Namakwekwa. If I pronounce it wrongly, the intent is a place. There is such a place, and you know it. No, you want to be insulted to veer off from the issue. The issue is unemployment. It is not a job, and let me be very candid and very honest. It is not the job of government to create employment. No. But it is the job of government to create conducive environment for business and job creation to thrive. And one thing that has not been happening, and I'm talking about this generation, you can go every village in Namibia that are supposed to be in the employment are aging with their old age parents in rural areas. That's the situation in current Namibia. Honorable Hengari, not because you are a member of parliament from my party, or the delegation I lead in this parliament, or the party that I lead, but because you are a young person who dared to raise one of the most important contemporary issues in our nation body politic, youth unemployment. Now people can, but it's a system that is supervised by them truly on the other side of the house that has failed the young people. How did this system fail the young people in this country? It started with procurement. At the beginning of independence, yes, we can talk about history. Whether you are talking, I have a right also to talk. You think you can bully me?
No, please.
No
dialogue. No
Historiography tells us that the ruling party downplayed pre-primary education. My good friend Nahas Angula, minister, former prime minister, and dear cousin, came here and said, pre-primary school is nonsense. Let's do away with it. We did that. By doing away with pre-primary education, we created a plethora of young people that were not correctly prepared to enter into primary and secondary education. We started with a policy of grade 10 failures, supervised by the government on the other side of the aisle. Grade 10 failures would not be allowed to repeat classes for a period of 7 years. So what happened with that policy? It created a generation of Kapena Ilonga Street. Every child that fails grade 10 would go to the street of Kapena Ilonga. And it's a generation today that we call the millennials. All these people that are sitting at home in all these villages are people that have failed grade 10, many of them that have failed grade 12, but the majority of them are grade 10 failures. Until
thank you.
You can try to defend it, it's a reality.
Wait for the light.
It's reality.
Yes.
Truth is like cream.
Yes.
That time she was the inspector.
Honorable Speaker, it's not true.
It's
not true to generalize.
Yes.
There were grade 10 or grade 12 who repeated. There are special cases who repeated. But now to tell the public
that no grade 10 repeated.
That's
It's
what
not
I'm saying.
true.
Okay, thank you. Honorable
Honorable,
Bernardi.
no.
Continue.
You know I'm an intelligent guy. You know me. You came to my school. I was the head boy there. You remember me. Now, okay, meeting it.
Continue.
Honorable, no, it's okay. It's okay. Honorable Mrs. Kalei, Honorable Kalei, Director, Inspector, former Inspector, former what? Education, Deputy Minister of Education. What I'm saying is the truth. The majority of young people sitting in these villages, and plethora of villages that I cannot mention, were created by the fact that they were not allowed a second chance in their lives.
Is that a point of order? Point of order?
So that is why we have youth unemployment.
Thank you. Thank you. Wait for the line. Please.
I will contribute to the motion. Yes, I just wanted to ask the Honorable Venani a very important question.
Okay. What?
If you are a scholar, you should know the yardstick of importance. I just want to ask him a question. He alluded to Honorable Nas Angula came here and says, get away with pre-primary. I just want to know whether that statement is correct, because I know Honorable Maharuka was not yet a person before independence. He was a toddler. I just want to understand.
Not even a toddler, infant.
Get away with primary. I started my school before independence. Is the Honorable Venani trying to imply that there was pre-primary before independence when DDA, now PDM, was leading the government?
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Venani, please continue.
The question is also important, but let me tell you what happened. The relevance of the issue is the following. That yes, Prime Minister Nas Angula was the founding Minister of Education. So being the pioneer Minister of Education in an independent Namibia, he laid the foundation of education. The success of the Namibian education system or the failures would greatly be attributed to him, not because I want to bring his name here, but because he was a pioneer minister in that ministry. Two, the DTA that you are blaming was very consistent in calling for pre-primary education. SWAPO rejected pre-primary education. And the Hansard are there to tell a story. That's the reality. Now let's move to the grade 10 failures. We have created that generation of poverty. What did government do to contribute greatly to youth unemployment in this country? Procurement. We, today, 31 years after independence, a deputy minister who is supposed to be ashamed, but is very candid, to say that we are drinking water from South Africa, for the last 31 years has failed to convince his own government to say that create your own water in Namibia. That is the failure. Why are you buying from South Africa if there is? Why are you buying from South Africa if there is? Now you worried about. Okay, I told Sarah Bugongela to go and print mask. Now she created a mask. This is a Namibian mask. Well, this one is also from Namibia. I'm making them in my garage. You see, I'm a producer. I'm making them in my garage.
Okay, let's continue. Let's continue.
Honorable Speaker, we want to water down a very important issue because we don't want to hear the truth. No, there is truth. The truth is the following: you brought Chinese. You brought procurement. No, I'm not anti-Chinese. I'm anti-foreigners taking Namibian jobs. You are benefiting, you have created a procurement system where you are the elite, the ruling party elite, is in partnership and in cahoots with Chinese companies, and these Chinese are taking jobs away from young people. Go everywhere in Namibia. Go to Nigeria. Let me give you, if you don't listen, you. Go to Nigeria. You would never find, go to Abuja, go to Lagos,
go to Enugu, go to all these places. Nigerians would send Nigerian citizens to go and procure cheap goods from China to come and sell them in Nigeria. But what you allow, your Home Affairs allows someone to bring $12 techies from China and be able to sell them in Namibia. Instead of giving that opportunity for your own young people to say that go to China, we are loaning you money, buy cheap products, sell them in your villages, create businesses. We have created a new business venture, SME sector, that belongs to the Chinese. We are not anti-Chinese if you are bringing skills into the country. But we are anti-Chinese if you are bringing low-level skills, prisoners from China, to go and build our port while our young people do not have jobs in this country. You can shake your head 1,000,000 times. Truth is like cream. It always rises to the top. Secondly, no, if you are a leader, talk the truth.
No dialogue.
How do you justify Chinese making bricks making bricks in our villages? It's a failure of government. It's a failure of us not creating a strong SME sector for our young people. Procurement. When tenders are given, we are not deliberate. We are not deliberate to say that at least 30% of all the tenders in the country must go to SMEs that belong to women, that belongs to the youth. No, they are not doing that. No. The only youth that you are talking about is Swapo Youth League and yourself. Yes, it's... If you look at all the tenderpreneurs, nearly all the tenderpreneurs, 80% of the tenderpreneurs in this country are leaders of the country. And they are cousins. Yes, my brother is one of them. My brother is one of them. You see, I'm very candid. I'm a truthful leader. I even talk about him. Yes? Well, he's a business person, like yourself. He's your friends. He's what? I am a very honest person. A wrong to me, whether it is done by a member of PDM or not, or my brother, I say it like it is. I'm not like you people that defend.
Honorable member, no dialogue.
Yes,
Please
I'm not like you who defends.
Continue.
Yes, I'm continuing. For as long as they are disturbing me, I'll continue. And I know where it hurts them. No, don't worry about time. I would speak even tomorrow. In fact, I will speak for an hour now. Yeah, tomorrow we'll speak about youth unemployment. SWAPO wants to water down the issue of youth unemployment because they know the reality is the fact that you don't listen to you. I'll give you figures now.
Please. No.
No, please.
Yes, point of information, point of order.
Why are you fighting about unemployment?
No. No.
Okay, order, please.
Honorable.
Can you have your say?
Honorable.
No, we are not spoiling it.
Order.
We will tell you the truth.
Order.
They can throw it out, the youth will know.
Order. Let's have order. Please continue.
Thank you very much. Point of information. I wanted to make it to provide the undisputed information to the Honorable Venani and any other who wish to sing the similar political song, that it might be imaginary. Therefore, SWAPO being referred to, take this unemployment matter very, very serious.
Show
and
it.
Take it from me.
Show it, not those. Which
and take it from me and
you have no authority in SWAPO.
And any other leader.
How can the Kundi be an authoritative source in SWAPO?
Continue.
You are just like Philly and Angola in SWAPO.
Please continue. Order, please. Order, please. With please, no dialogue.
I will anoint him to become a leader.
Please, order, please. Can we hear you?
Yeah.
Yes, can you conclude your question, please?
There's no question, he's just stepping.
No, it's information which is allowed.
Yes, please. Can we hear you?
Honorable Speaker, the rule says when a person is on the floor, whoever disturbs must be told to behave.
I silenced the
So
House
therefore the
for you
Speaker is not to tell me, is
No,
to
no,
tell the person.
I'm asking you to continue now.
Honorable Speaker, I will do that, but I'm trying to tell what the rules provide. The rules is not to tell me, is to tell the Honorable Marupa here.
Wasting time
Honorable
so that I
Marupa
don't
here.
speak. But it's good projects.
Please, let's hear you now.
I will. Can you see? Yes.
No, please. I know. You know, when the presiding officer, yes, can we have a moment? Please, can you conclude your observation?
Yes. Thank you very much. What information is that the SWAPO, the Honorable President of the Minority Party, is alluding to. The fact is, we as a collective, be it at the party and government, takes the unemployment matters that affect our young people and any other person very, very serious. Therefore, any attempt to think so is beyond fact, and all our effort in terms of employment creation to keep the unemployment is being creating that synergy among ourselves in order to create employment. So therefore there is no such a myth that implies that SWAPO does not take
Thank you
the
very much. You are
situation
repeating yourself.
lightly.
Thank you. Thank you very much. On that note, we'll continue tomorrow. The House stands adjourned until tomorrow, the usual time.
Now tomorrow I'll come with a strong statement. Tomorrow I'll hit them very hard. Tomorrow I will hit you very hard. Lebundi.